Hi, and welcome to Studying the Steps, a podcast from the Magdalen House, a recovery community for alcoholic women. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in Dallas, Texas, and known affectionately by many as Maggies. In this series, we take a deeper dive into the 12 steps as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, through discussion with an alcoholic woman active in our recovery community, and with me, your host, Kelsey Amos, a recovered alcoholic and the Next Step program manager at the Magdalen House. Their personal experience and knowledge of work in the program can give insight on how anyone can apply and practice the spiritual principles to improve their lives. Please note, the curriculum we teach through our programs at Maggie's is from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. However, we are not an Alcoholics Anonymous group, and we are not associated with AA. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Magdalen House podcast. This is Studying the Steps. My name is Kelsey Amos. I'm your host. I'm super excited to be back with you guys. I'm also really excited about our guest today, so I'm going to go ahead and just let him introduce himself.
Hey, guys. My name is Sean Thornton. I am the program coordinator for the men's program here at Magdalen House, and I've been sober since January 1st of 2021.
That's awesome. New Year's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it was
so
not
cool.
by choice, but you know how New Year's Eve goes.
Yeah, right. Cool. So, Sean, can you tell us how you first got introduced, connected here at the Magdalen House?
Yeah, so I know some people who are associated with Magdalen House, and it's interesting because I had just quit a sales job, a day before, and I knew that I wanted to help people. And I'd worked in recovery before, but I texted somebody to get some information for my resume from a previous recovery job, and it just so happens that that person is associated with somebody who works here as well. And I mentioned at the end of the text, I'm thinking about, taking the program coordinator or interviewing for the program coordinator job. And he said, oh, well, I happen to be involved with somebody who's one of the managers there. So anyway, it was almost like a God thing. It was the very next day, I was setting up an interview, and then that same day, I was given the position. So.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah.
That is amazing. We're just so happy to have you. I mean, it's just the fact that we get to help men now is huge. Yeah. And I know everybody's super excited about it and looking forward to seeing how the program's going to grow.
Yeah, me too. I think it's such an amazing thing how much they've done for women in the last 37 years, and to see what we can now do for men is really amazing, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So before we jump into the steps that we're going to be looking at today, I want to kind of ask like a general question. So in your recovery journey, have you experienced a shift in your mental health as you work the steps, or noticed a change in your mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. I have. My mental health was not at its best when I was drinking, for sure. And I was not spiritually fit by any means. In fact, that's one of the things that was really missing from my life. So that affected my mental health and my physical health too. So, working the steps has taught me to be more mindful of my health, my mental health, and my physical health, and obviously my spiritual health. And I think all of those things go hand in hand. So it's working the steps has really given me a blueprint on how to better take care of myself and how to manage myself, and especially when things come up in life as they do, I've now got a toolkit, that helps me to deal with those things. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's affected my mental health for sure.
Yeah, it just made me think of the line in the book on page 64, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. Has that been your experience, you'd say?
Yeah, absolutely. I could always be in better physical fit condition.
Can't we all? Yeah.
But, overall, have I recovered physically and mentally? Absolutely, I have, by solving that spiritual malady, which I didn't even know I had.
Right.
I wasn't even aware that I believed in a higher power, but it was too much work to go into trying to understand what that is. And I don't think I understand now. I'm no spiritual guru, but I know that now that I've opened the door and invited spirituality into my life, that has improved my physical health. There's a lot of things I could point to that I've seen improve in my life physically. and mentally, and my ability to deal with life on life's terms every day is I couldn't be more grateful for that.
That is awesome. I love that. Okay, so today specifically we are going to talk about steps 10 and 11. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what these steps are and why they're important?
Yeah, absolutely. So, step 10 is to continue to take personal inventory and make amends, immediately. That's not the exact verbiage, but basically keep your side of the street clean, continue to take personal inventory. Steps 4 through 9, we've learned how to restore sanity in our lives, but in order to continue with that and maintain that, we have to continue to do that every day. So, and when you're taking your nightly inventory or you're kind of evaluating how your day went, I think ultimately I've learned to reach out to my higher power to do that. And I'll still talk to my sponsor every now and then. He likes me to do that.
Yeah, it's important to be accountable to somebody, right?
My higher power, and I've got some other people in my life too that I reach out to. So I've got, a wonderful, and I can't be more grateful for that as well. I've got a wonderful community of people in addition to just my sponsor that I can reach out and talk to. But, I've learned to ultimately get closer to reaching out to my higher power and holding myself accountable to my higher power. Yeah. And going through that more often than not with my higher power as far as going through my inventory. And when I'm wrong, I promptly admitted it. I don't want to let things stack up under the rug. If I keep sweeping things under the rug, those things are going to pile up, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to repair that.
Yeah.
So I've learned to try to keep my side of the street clean. It's kind of like when you're cleaning a house. If you wait to do it all on one day, it's going to be kind of a bear, and you're not going to look forward to it, and you're probably going to avoid doing it.
Yeah.
But if you do a little bit of cleaning, maybe clean this room one day, clean the other room the other day, and kind of maintain that, it's going to be a lot easier to keep it in shape. And so just keeping your side of the street clean, I think, is really important.
Yeah, it just made me think. I always kind of tell people, or I like to think of one of the greatest superpowers that we get out of the program is this ability to tell on ourselves. Right, because that's not something I was ever doing before.
Right.
And now it's just kind of, I don't like it when things sit too long. So.
Yeah, it's almost like we've lost the ability to be dishonest or lie.
Yeah.
When I have not told the whole truth to somebody, or I have withheld information or I've been dishonest, it eats away at my core.
Yeah.
And until I can come clean on that or be truthful about that. So yeah, that's one of the things I love about what this program has taught me is it's really taught me how to live an honest and respectable life and really, cherish the people in my life and be honest with them. And when you don't have to carry around a big bag of lies around on your back,
oh
that
my
thing,
God, right? Yeah.
it gets heavy,
It does, yeah.
So that's one of the most beautiful things I think about the program is rigorous honesty that the book talks about, for sure.
Absolutely. Can you talk about, so like in 10, we get that, I guess some people call it like the spot check inventory, right? Of like, you mentioned you have people you can always go to and like tell those things to and all of that, and then going to your guidance for higher power. And so I think like obviously with the nightly inventory in 11, we also have this, the prayer and meditation in step 11. Yeah. And it's kind of this ambiguous thing. Can you talk about what that looks like for you and maybe like how it's grown and changed since you got sober and what it looks like now?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first got sober, I would go to page 86, 87, and 88 and really just read what the book told me to read, like a textbook, But as time went on, I started to evolve that a little bit because my prayers kind of evolved. I've evolved a little bit. And I'm not going to say that I pray every morning religiously, but I do pray every day at some point.
Yeah.
If I don't pray in the morning and try to start my day with that, midway through the day, I'm going to notice that, and it's going to remind me. And at that point, I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll pray. A lot of times I pray in the car. For some reason, praying in the car seems to be my go-to, but it's, whatever works for you. But as I used to read the specific prayers out of the book, eventually they started to evolve into me praying to my higher power with whatever that meant today. Whatever that is today is what I want to talk about. And, I'll ask for guidance most of all. Lately, it's really been a lot about gratitude. And whatever I need guidance with that day, but it's always about doing his will instead of my will. I have to remind myself that every day. So I turn my will and my life over to my higher power as I understand him every day. But little did I know when I started the program that he was going to give it back to me every night.
Yeah.
It's like the tooth fairy. I
Yeah.
wake up every morning and there it is under my pillow again, and I have to give it back to him again. So that's something I've gotten used to. But the prayer and meditation is really important to really grow your spiritual condition, your spiritual relationship with your higher power. Because if we don't do that, we're going to certainly grow stagnant, I think, and go back to our old ways. Our self-will controlled us so much before that if we don't give our will back to him every day and we realize that we're not the center of the universe anymore, that's what I really had to understand, is that I was the center of my universe for years and years and years. And that worked for a while, and it was fun for a while being the king of the castle until it wasn't.
Right.
So, if I give it back to him every day and understand that, this is a daily reprieve, and I've got to ask for guidance every day. But it's mainly about, making sure that I'm not doing my will, and that I'm sincerely asking to do his will and do what's best for the world around me instead of just me.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you mentioned that it's a daily reprieve. I think that's so important. So for our listeners, what he's kind of referencing, on page 85, it says we're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Well, it goes on to say every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. And I mean, that's exactly what we've been talking about, right? And I think it's so important, because this is where that one day at a time thing comes in, right? Like I am carrying, the vision of God's will into all of my activities one day at a time. I'm practicing the spiritual principles of this program one day at a time. So I love that you spoke to that, because it's so important to know that, like, we don't just work the steps and then we're cured, right? Like it's a lifetime thing. So I wanted to ask you, because I think this was something that confused me when I was new, of like, what is the difference between doing a 10-step versus doing the nightly review in step 11?
I think doing a 10th step is, doing your 10th step definitely involves somebody else.
Okay.
I think that's probably the biggest difference, is that your 10th step is that you're going through this issue, or whatever the issue is, you're sharing that with another human being. And I believe that in step 11, it's more of a personal reflection on things.
Yeah. I've never heard that before, but it makes sense. Yeah. I love that too. We're talking a lot about, our spiritual condition, staying spiritually fit. What does it look like for you today to stay spiritually fit?
What it looks like for me today is definitely growing. So, steps 10, 11, and 12, when I first got into the program, were called maintenance steps. And I've learned that they're really not maintenance steps. That word maintenance, I think, only comes up once in the book. And they're really growth steps. So at this point in our recovery, we've been restored to sanity. So we're really required, I believe, to grow spiritually, to continue to grow our relationship with our higher power, and not just stay stagnant. Like you said, we're not cured of alcoholism, but the book, tells us precisely how we've recovered, right? And that means the whole book, the first 164 pages. To me, that means continuing to grow your spiritual relationship with God. And like I said, I'm not a spiritual guru, but I do try to make time to grow my relationship with God. Like if you have a relationship with your significant other, obviously at first you're gonna learn everything you can about that person, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna learn what their likes, their dislikes are, the little quirks, and those are the things you kind of fall in love with, right? I think that we need to do the same thing if we really value this relationship with our higher power, that we need to learn everything that we can about them. And that may mean, really studying the book. That may mean bringing other things into your life, whether it be, other spiritual books, other spiritual texts. If you want to supplement your program with church or religion, that's certainly something you can do as long as it stays separate from your program.
Right.
But I think that it's real important to continue to grow and understand what that relationship with us individually and our higher power, the God of our understanding, is. And so I try to make time for that every week to do that.
Yeah, I love that. Are you looking for a way to give back and get involved with the Magdalen House? No work is too small, and our dedicated volunteers serve as a valuable resource to our organization. We couldn't help alcoholic women and their families without the priceless services they provide. We provide opportunities for all, as well as opportunities strictly for women in recovery. To get started, please visit our website at magdalenhouse.org/volunteers and click on New Volunteer Sign Up. I'm just like, as you're talking, I'm thinking of just like so many different lines in the book. Like, our Bill's story where he talks about if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life, he would not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. And I kind of want to ask you, like, do you have experience with, going through trials and low spots in your sobriety? And what did that look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I first got sober, I came into this program thinking, this is going to get me sober. I thought that's all this was. This is going to get me sober and maybe help me stay sober. Little did I know that it was going to be much bigger than that. It was going to be much more than that. It was going to really teach me how to be a better person overall, and get down to the root of why I was drinking in the first place. Right? What are those things that you've been carrying around that are making you want to change the way you feel? So it's really therapeutic how that worked. But I came in and I was going to meetings, and I eventually worked the steps, but it took me almost 2 years. And I don't recommend to anybody waiting 2 years to get a sponsee or carry the message. But I was just going to meetings and not always, sometimes it was meetings where there was people that were telling their war stories and things like that. But it wasn't until I actually felt comfortable taking that plunge to actually sponsor somebody. That took me almost 2 years to do that. But up until that point, I was really kind of miserable in my recovery. I was sober, but I wasn't really fulfilled. And my sponsor had recommended, that when you're ready, it's time to sponsor somebody. It's like time to carry the message and help the alcoholic who still suffers. Well, it took me a while to where I really felt like I could transmit that. We can't transmit what we haven't got. And I didn't feel like I had that to transmit for a long time. But once I finally took the plunge to do that and then started to carry the message at certain facilities, here in Dallas-Fort Worth, then my whole life changed and my recovery changed. And all of a sudden I felt fulfilled, that I was actually helping people, and I was actually doing what the 12th step talks about doing, which is go help some people. You've been given this gift, the least you can do is go and give it to somebody else. So that was what really changed my life, was when I finally took the plunge to do that. And I would recommend to anybody who's not done that yet, maybe you've worked the steps, but maybe you haven't started to sponsor and maybe you haven't carried the message. I would strongly consider doing that, especially if you're feeling like your recovery's at a standstill.
Right. Yeah. Because, the whole point of, acquiring this or like having this spiritual awakening is, being sober is just a happy side effect, right? Like, I'm glad I'm sober today. It makes life a lot easier. But the absolute highlight of my life is getting to help other people, right? But I have found in my experience that if I am not, seeking that conscious contact with God in 10 and 11, then I'm not going to be very enthusiastic about, carrying the message or sponsoring in 12. Has that also been your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it has been really important in my life to properly transmit that to somebody else. You've got to be spiritually fit. And that doesn't mean that you need to be a spiritual guru by any means, but if you've maintained a good relationship with your higher power and you've maintained your side of the street, you've kept your side of the street clean, then you can properly go confidently and share what you've been given. But if I'm struggling with dealing with life on life's terms because I'm not staying in a good spiritually fit condition, then I'm not going to be able to transmit that. Right. So it's once you have it and you've built that, it becomes kind of a habit to continue to do this. And you'll notice in your life, if you haven't been praying or you haven't been meditating or you started to become kind of distant from your higher power, you're going to notice that once it becomes part of your life, you're going to miss it. At least I know I did. Yeah. And I know I do if I start to stray away from that. So, if you're sponsoring somebody or trying to work with others and you're struggling with that, it probably means that you haven't maintained that spiritually fit condition.
Yeah.
Sure.
I call it starting to feel the ick. Right?
Yeah.
Start feeling icky inside.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. Too. Like, because I've essentially fallen back asleep, right? If we can be spiritually awakened, we can fall back asleep. And I think for me, 10 and 11 is all about like staying awakened. And then 12 is about, giving that to somebody else to also stay awakened, but doing God's work, right?
Right.
Awesome. So let's talk about the promises. Because I think the 10-step promises they're all my favorite. But I love the 10-step promises. Do you want to read those on page 84 for us?
Okay. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, for by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I just love it so much, especially the ceased fighting anything or anyone. That's just so, restored to sanity. Like, these are things that I never thought would happen for me, right?
Right, agreed.
It's just so cool. And then for the 11-step promises, they're kind of sprinkled all through the On Awakening reading, but I think the ones that kind of stuck out to me is on page 88. It says, we become much more efficient. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. And then the best one, it works. It really does.
Right.
Just absolutely beautiful. And I just, it's crazy. I've been, exposed to this book for, several years since I've been sober. And it's just like, sometimes you read things and they just pop out.
Yeah.
Even though you've read it 100 times before.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened to me earlier when I was looking through this to prepare. I was like, oh man, like, look at that. It's so cool.
It's right there. Yeah. I've never seen it that way before.
Yeah. So in regards to the promises, have these come true for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So like going back to the 10-step promises, what's great about recovery is I don't think about drinking. I don't think about not drinking. It just doesn't come into play. I've learned how to deal with life on life's terms other ways.
And for somebody who's like struggling, that probably, I think for me, before I got sober, that sounded impossible.
Yeah.
It sounded impossible.
It did. I mean, it wasn't even, you can't differentiate the truth from the false, right? My reality had become drinking. I didn't think there was any other way. I was surrendered to it. It was my higher power.
Yeah.
At that point, and I had no other means of dealing with life on life's terms. I didn't even know that there was a solution other than that. And what I've learned now, having been restored to sanity, the fact that I don't think about it, I don't think about not doing it. It doesn't even come in on the radar anymore as that being an option. So that blows my mind.
That's so cool.
Because that, there was a time when that, that was not even on the radar. And now it's definitely a hot flame, and I'm not touching a hot flame by any means.
That's so cool. That is so cool. And then with the 11-step promises, kind of talking about that, I didn't read that part, but there's another part where it talks about what used to be the hunch, this is on 87, what used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Like, do you feel like you've kind of developed that? There's another place in the book where it's referred to as the God consciousness, right? Do you think that that's kind of happened for you?
Yeah, I think so. What used to be the hunch or occasional inspiration, that was probably me back when I was still drinking. Was I believed in a higher power, but again, it was not something that I was making any room for because I was too busy with my other higher power at the time, which was drinking and myself. I was my own higher power. And that was something I had to learn. But yeah, I mean, have I been able to be inspired by my higher power more often now? Absolutely. It becomes part of the daily ritual. When I first got sober, my nightly inventory might have been a bigger list. But now there's nights when that list is, the page is empty. It's like I went through a whole day and I don't really have anything to be.
Didn't step on any toes. Didn't do anything crazy.
Yeah. Didn't treat anybody wrong, and didn't, maybe didn't even treat myself wrong. That's one thing I kind of skip over sometimes when I'm doing my nightly materials. Was I respectful to myself? Did I treat myself with honesty? Was I dishonest to myself about anything? Yeah. So that's something that kind of gets pushed to the side sometimes, but I try to make sure that I include myself in that too. But yeah, does it become a working part of the mind? I think it does. Yeah. And I'm very grateful for that because it helps me go throughout my day. And if I don't conduct myself that way now, it bothers me. Yeah, for sure. And I love that.
Yeah. And I always like to ask people this question of like, was there a point in time, like as you were working the steps or maybe after you finished them working with a sponsee, where you just kind of had this realization that you had a spiritual awakening, like where it was like, oh, it happened?
Yeah. I think, the miracle happened. So I recently had a sponsee go through the 12 steps and he was the first one that I had that actually went through the whole steps.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when we get those.
Oh my God, it was amazing, and I couldn't believe that I had helped guide him through the steps. But I also realized that, it wasn't me. I was just a guide. I wasn't his spiritual guru. I know I've used that word a lot, but
it's appropriate.
Yeah. So I guided him through the steps, and it was miraculous. And I kind of got a little teary-eyed, when we talked about it. When I still see him now, I'm just so proud of him because he's come such a long way. But it's what's really amazing about it is the humility. Is that I have no pride. There's like zero pride about that. It's just I know that was done through me. That guiding him through the steps was something. I was just a vehicle for that. Yeah. And there was a time in my life before when I would have tried to, wear that on my shoulder and tell the world, look what I've done, But it's so not about that now. It's about really giving back the gift I've been given, if I can give that back to somebody. So, but yeah, now I just need more sponsees.
Yeah. Don't we all? I mean, that's like my favorite part about the program. And I love that you're so passionate about it too, is getting to watch the light come on in somebody else. As a sponsor, I absolutely love it. But then also working here, getting to be a part of the Magdalen House community as a staff member and seeing that transformation happen in the lives of people who come through our programs, who join our community. And I'm super excited for you to get to see that with men. Yeah. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So what would you tell somebody who is either new or maybe they've been here a while and they're struggling with steps 10 and 11?
I would say really to focus on what progress that you've made in steps 4 through 9. Because step 10 is really just a combination of those steps. Mm-hmm. So you might be struggling, but look at all the progress that you've made now. Are you restored to sanity? Then start making this a habit. Like one of the people in my home group really made a suggestion to me that really seemed pretty simple, a no-brainer. He's like, put a reminder in your phone, So I did. I put a reminder in my phone that says, get with God. And it reminds me every day to get with God, and it stays there as a reminder. Like if I don't do it in the morning, it's going to stay until I dismiss that reminder. So using technology for spirituality is something you can do. It's okay to do that. But that's something I would definitely recommend to people, and especially people who are struggling with their higher power, and we agnostics, it talks to that. Your higher power just needs to be something besides you. It just make sure that it's not you. Make sure that your higher power, and just understand that you're not the center of the universe, that you're just one of many drops in the ocean, And I think that it's important, if you're struggling with prayer, just make it a habit, and also understand it doesn't need to be anything too complicated. It can be something very simple. God, help guide me today. God, help me do your will today. It could be a quick, simple sentence, whatever works for you. Make it simple and make it work for you, and personalize it to what your recovery means and what your truth is. And I think that's probably the best advice I could give somebody for that.
That's great advice. I keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
Keep it simple, man.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so for my final question, what would you want someone to know about the Magdalen House? What would you want to tell them?
I would want them to know that this is such an amazing opportunity for somebody, not only because the very specific qualified care that you can get, but for it to be at no cost is just amazing. Still kind of blows my mind. What they've done for women in the past 37 years, and I think it's really because they focused on one thing, doing one thing, and doing it really, really well. And that's what amazes me, just about how well run the organization is. But if you've been able to do such a good job and have such an amazing success with so many women, just think of what we can do for men. Yeah. There's obviously a much higher amount of men struggling with alcoholism out there. So if you can have a program that's specific for you, that's going to give you some tools that are going to supplement what, you may be working on your recovery, you may be going through the steps, you may have a sponsor, but if I had had a program like this when I first got sober, I would have loved to have something like this to really give me the things I needed to supplement my recovery, to help me get out and help some other people a little sooner.
Right.
And to really understand how to work the steps completely. So I think it's an invaluable tool, and I think that anyone in recovery would do well to have themselves in this program.
That's awesome. Sean, thank you so much for being here. I just absolutely love your passion for, not just what we're doing here at Maggie's, but just the 12 steps and helping alcoholics, period. It's absolutely beautiful to see. So thank you for spending time with me today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Yeah. And for our listeners, we will see you next time. Take care.
This has been a Studying the Steps series podcast, hosted by Kelsey Amos and brought to you by the Magdalen House. I am Bryn Hansen, host of our Recovered Interviews with Alcoholic Women series. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Tune in every Wednesday for a new release from one of our 4 series. To learn more about the Magdalen House and the services we offer, visit magdalenhouse.org or follow us on your favorite social media channels.